Hey, what's up, everybody? Oh, man. Just want to tell you a quick little story about what just happened to us. And you can't tell me that God is not watching out for you, and God is not just amazing at just blessing when you least expect it. So we're doing really well, and business is doing well. And, so like we got the money, right? So we go to the grocery store here in Utah, and we didn't notice at first, but there's a older guy kind of hunched over, and he's messing with his cart and messing with his car and everything. And then we go in, we're in there probably a good 45 minutes. And then we come out of the grocery store, and Candy says, well, I think we should stop. I think he needs help. I'm like, no, he's fine. I'm on my phone. I'm not even paying attention. I'm like, no, he's fine. So we pull around the car, and he's at the back of the parking lot, and then we pull around and we see him, and I mean, he's an old guy, hunched over, old guy. And so she gets out, she's like, hey, do you need help? And he turns around and he's like, yeah, the ignition, the key, the key. She goes, well, my husband's a mechanic. I'm like, well, let me go see. And I didn't think anything of it. And the key is so rounded. I mean, the edge, it's not even a key no more. It's just round. So it's not working. The key does not work. And so back in 2010, 2011, when we were in San Antonio, my wife had a Z71 Suburban. Same thing happened. The key got so rounded that you could turn the ignition, start driving, and then pull the key right out of the ignition, and the car would still go. Sometimes the car would just shut off. So we had to get new keys, and we called locksmiths, and we got stranded one time. So here we are, like 10 years later, in the Winco parking lot in Utah, and the guy's like, yeah, my key, it's rounded, and I'm trying all the tricks, it doesn't work. Like, man, I'm really sorry. I'm gonna call my son, and so we're at Winco in Roy, Utah, and the son comes, and he's like, man, I'm really sorry, and you can see he's visibly frustrated, he's shaking ignition, and he's like, oh man, I don't know what to do. And so, the guy was telling me, he's like, yeah, we're like a military family, and had family in the Marines and the Air Force and all that. And my wife died of cancer a couple years ago, like it was like a year or two ago or something. My wife died of cancer. I'm like, oh man, what's up, Adam? What's up, brother? And so I was like, well, I just retired from the military. I just retired in December. He goes, no way, Air Force. Yeah, I'm Air Force. I was like, I was stationed in Goldsboro. He's like, I lived in Goldsboro. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, my uncle. And it was going on about how, like, he lived in Goldsboro at Seymour Johnson. I'm like, yeah, Seymour Johnson. He goes, yeah, I was in the Air Force. And it was like such a cool moment. So the key didn't work. And so we took our groceries back to our house. And my wife and I were sitting there and was like, man, like, I really feel bad for this guy, for this old man. And he's like really like hunched over, like he's got to be in his 70s, maybe even 80s, 70s maybe. And he's like hunched over, and she's like, well, like we should go help him. And so before I left, he was telling me, he's like, yeah, I had to sell everything I own because my wife's cancer bills and everything else. So I gave him all the money in my pocket. It was like $12. I said, well, here's your pay back my bills fund, just kind of being funny. And then he tells me, he's like, you're a mechanic. He's like, I got a 1980 Mustang. I'm like, you do? I build Mustangs. So we were talking. He's like, yeah, I need some help on my Mustang. I'm like, oh, cool, man. That's awesome. We got to talk about cars and just life, And so we called a locksmith, and the locksmith showed up. Just then, a second locksmith showed up. A second one. We're like, all right, we're going to get this done. For like the last 10 o'clock now, for the last maybe like hour and a half, at least hour and a half, we've been in the parking lot with the son and the dad, and the locksmiths finally got it to work. Between the both of them, it wasn't working. We're like, oh my God, this is going to suck. Like, this is going to be so bad. And so it worked. So they got a new ignition key, took the whole ignition out of the car, and got all the tumblers and everything got all fixed or whatever. And the locksmiths, between the two of them, got the key. The one guy was like, hey, how much is it? He's like, it's going to be $80. And so my wife, who works at Buffalo Wild Wings, had $85 in her wallet. Had two 20s, a 10, and then a shitload of ones. So I'm like, here's your 50. I was like, 60, 61, 62, 63. He's like, stop. $70. Like, it's fine. I can't believe you're actually paying for the locksmith for people you don't even know. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I know how it is. So we paid that guy. The other guy who we called was like, it's $120. I'm like, okay, $120. Okay. Pull out the card. Boom. Done. Paid it. And then the guy tells us a story. Oh my God, you're not going to believe this. This is so freaking crazy. So he tells me, he's like tearing up and he's like welling up in the face and turning red. He goes, you will not believe this. I've been out here for 50 minutes, at least 50 minutes, struggling. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get home. I don't know what I'm going to do. He goes, my life this past month and losing my wife and everything is just, it's been so hard on me. It's been one domino after another domino after another domino. And I said, well, I'm glad I could help. And I turned to walk away. He's like, no, you don't understand. I prayed just now. I said, please, God, send me an angel. Please, God, send me somebody. God, please, I need some help. And then I turned around and your wife got out of the car and said, hey, do you need help? And he looked up. And then I walked over and I said, hey, and he says, your smile just like lit me up. And I knew that this was from God. I knew it was. And then, and he says, I was praying and I was praying and I was praying. Please, God, send me an angel. Please, God, send me somebody. I need some help. And he says, when you guys got out of the car, I just thought to myself, I'm like, man, God works fast. I was like, it was so funny and so cute at the same time. And so we just spent the last hour and a half like getting to know him and like, what do they do? And he owns a woodworking business and his dad's like retired, you know, military and all that. And so we paid for the 2 locksmiths. So we paid $70 to the other guy, $120 to the other guy, got the keys made. Now he's got 2 keys just in case. And everything's working. He drove out of the parking lot and he's like, I'm hell on wheels. And he was driving away. I'm like, that is so funny. So I just, man, God is so good. And he puts people in your path and he tests you constantly. And he's going to do things that's going to put you in a situation. And if you just ignore it, like the blessings are never going to come. And you right now could be standing in front of somebody and you could be their blessing, because people right now are wishing and hoping and praying for a blessing. And my wife was the one that stopped and I blew it off. And I'm like, no, he's fine. He's fine. And the funny part was he had this big, huge jug of water. Like you would see it like a office water jug. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, no. She's like, well, maybe he needs help with his water. You know, because we didn't know about the key. She goes, well, he needs help with his water. I'm like, oh, I'll go unload his groceries, you know. So I go to unload the groceries. She's like, oh, my key. I'm like, oh. And then it turned into this big thing. And it was just, we're financially blessed that we could help out the father and the son when their key wasn't working in their car. And 2 locksmiths showed up. You know, it was just like, it was the craziest thing. 2 locksmiths showed up. I paid for them both. And he goes, I don't even know what to say. I mean, just my life this past month, you know, has just been so terrible. So I'm spiral, he said. He says going a downward spiral is where he's headed. He said, I'm going down a downward spiral. And it was a blessing that financially it didn't even bother me. I can pay the $200 for a locksmith and be totally comfortable with it, you know. And something was forcing me. Something was inside me, telling me like, go do this. Same with my wife. She's like, we have to go do this. We have to go do this. And I'm so glad that we did. And so you're going to be put into a situation and in front of somebody that you could be somebody's prayer. You could be somebody's answer. You could be God's gift to that person. And if you blow it off, you'll never even know. So I'm telling you right now, you're somebody's blessing. You're somebody's answer to a prayer. And so listen with your heart and listen with your mind and listen for those moments where you feel like you have to do something. You feel compelled to do something and just do it and then see the blessings that happen in your life. And so that's our message that my wife and I wanted to give you guys tonight. It was such a tremendous opportunity that if I'd have just blown off and told her, come on, just drive, let's just go, that we would have missed it. We would have missed the blessing. And so we were an answer to someone's prayer tonight. And it feels so good. So be somebody's answer to their prayer and don't discount how you feel when you feel compelled to act and you feel compelled to go ahead and do whatever you feel like it is that you need to do, just do it. Don't even think about it. Just do it, because that's God telling you what to do. So love you all, and be somebody's blessing, and then pay it forward.